Everyone's telling you the same story. Tesla is losing. BYD is winning on volume. Toyota's hybrids are back. That story is wrong because nobody's asking why EVs actually stalled in the first place. It wasn't demand. It was physics. Charging that throttles at 70%. Range that drops a third in freezing weather. A battery so expensive to build that a cheap, long-range EV was never possible. Tesla just spent years quietly demolishing that wall. Not with a miracle chemistry, but by rebuilding how the cell itself gets made. It breaks BYD's pricing moat and turns Toyota's solid-state promises into a decade-late apology. And every price cut you've called desperation. It's a company starving rivals' margins while finishing tooling nobody else has. The number that decides this war isn't sticker price. It's cost per kilowatt hour at millions of units. And there's one factory floor detail in that number that neither BYD nor Toyota has an answer for yet. Here is what's actually happening on the factory floor, the battery wall. Every EV owner already knows the pain points. You pull up to a fast charger, and the moment your pack crosses roughly 70%, the charging speed collapses. In freezing weather, your range can drop by a third or more. And underneath all of it sits the real reason EVs never got truly cheap. The battery itself. Start with the cell. Classic cylindrical batteries. The 1, 8, 6, 5, 0, and 2170 formats Tesla has used for years. Pull current out through one or two narrow tabs at the end of the cell. Every electron generated deep inside that tightly wound roll has to travel the entire length of the cell just to reach that single exit point. That creates resistance. And resistance creates heat unevenly in hotspots. To keep the cell from overheating or degrading, the battery management system has no choice but to throttle charging speed once the pack gets close to full, which is exactly the slowdown you feel at the charger. Then there's how the cell gets built in the first place. For 30 years, the industry has coated battery electrodes with a wet process. Active materials are mixed into a slurry with toxic solvents, coated onto metal foil, then dried in ovens that can stretch the length of a football field. That drying step alone can eat up close to a third to half of a battery factory's total energy use, and the ovens themselves swallow enormous amounts of floor space. On top of that, someone has to capture and safely dispose of the solvent vapor coming off those lines, which means even more equipment, more capital, and more square footage before a single usable cell rolls off the line. That's a huge hidden reason high-performance nickel-based batteries have stayed so expensive. You're not just paying for the chemistry. You're paying for acres of industrial ovens and the infrastructure built around them. Put those two problems together, a cell architecture that traps heat and a manufacturing process that's fundamentally expensive by design, and you get the EV industry as it's existed for the last decade. Batteries that are either cheap and limited or powerful and pricey, with almost nothing in between. Every automaker has been forced to pick a side of that trade-off, and every EV buyer has felt the consequences of that choice at the dealership, at the charger, and every winter morning, the range estimate quietly lies to them. Tesla's secret weapon. Tesla's answer to the heat problem starts with the 4,680 cell itself. At 46 millimeters wide and 80 millimeters tall, it holds roughly 5 times the volume of the older 2,170 cell, which immediately means fewer individual cells, fewer welds, and a simpler pack. But the real engineering leap is the tabless design. Instead of current funneling out through one narrow tab, the entire edge of the electrode foil is laser cut and folded into a continuous contact surface that runs the full height of the cell. That shortens the distance electrons have to travel to reach an exit point. Cutting internal resistance dramatically and spreading heat evenly across the whole can, instead of concentrating it in one spot. The practical result is a cell that can sustain fast charging current for longer, without the aggressive throttling older cells need. Then, there's the manufacturing side, which is arguably the bigger deal. Tesla has now confirmed it's producing both the anode and cathode for the 4,680 using a fully dry electrode process. No slurry, no toxic solvent, no drying ovens. Active battery powder is blended directly with a binder and compressed onto the current collector foil under high pressure, closer to a printing process than a chemical bake. Reported figures on this vary by source, but the pattern is consistent. Energy use down somewhere in the ballpark of 40 to 50%, and factory floor space cut by as much as half, sometimes more once the process is fully scaled. Strip out the ovens and the solvent recovery systems, and you strip out one of the biggest hidden costs in premium battery production. Layer on top of that Tesla structural pack design, where these cells are bonded directly into the floor of the car instead of being packaged into separate modules first. Fewer parts, less dead weight, and more of the vehicle's volume actually spent storing energy instead of housing brackets and wiring. The floor of the car essentially becomes the battery, and the battery becomes part of the car's structural skeleton, which is a very different design philosophy from bolting a battery module underneath a conventional chassis. None of this is a single silver bullet either. It's three separate engineering problems: cell geometry, coating chemistry, and pack integration, all being solved together on the same production line at the same time. That's the part competitors are going to find hardest to copy, because you can't just license one piece of it. You have to rebuild the whole factory around it, retrain the workforce running it, and requalify every downstream vehicle system that touches the pack. That's years of institutional knowledge, not a spec sheet you can buy your way into. BYD's cost advantage is under attack. BYD built its dominance on the Blade battery, a lithium iron phosphate pack that skips expensive nickel and cobalt entirely, which is exactly why BYD can undercut nearly everyone on price while still passing nail penetration safety tests. It's a genuinely smart, vertically integrated strategy, but LFP has a physical ceiling. It's heavier per kilowatt hour than nickel-based chemistry, and it's noticeably worse in cold weather, where lithium-ion movement slows down and voltage sags. Anyone who's owned an LFP-based EV through a real winter already knows this trade-off intimately. That's the opening Tesla is going after. By stripping the capital cost out of high nickel cell production through the dry electrode process, Tesla is pushing the price of energy-dense nickel packs down toward LFP territory without giving up LFP's cost advantage entirely. If that keeps closing, Tesla ends up offering vehicles that are lighter, carry meaningfully more range, and hold up better in winter while landing close to BYD on manufacturing cost per vehicle. Think about what that does to BYD's position. Their entire pricing strategy is built on being able to say, "We're cheaper because we use a simpler, safer chemistry, and everyone else pays a nickel premium for range." If Tesla erases most of that premium through manufacturing alone, BYD isn't just facing a competitor with a nicer product. It's facing a competitor that just neutralized the one number its whole business case was built around. That's not a small threat to BYD's moat. That's a direct hit on the one advantage the moat was built on. And it forces BYD into a much harder fight.